The same old tearing each other down. You want politicians lifting the country up. You don't want spin and PR. You want straight talk and honesty out of your elected officials. And most of all, I believe that change in America happens from the bottom up, not from the top down. I learned that as an organizer in the shadow of steel plants in Chicago that had closed. And I worked as a community organizer right out of college for 3.5 years, setting up job training programs for the unemployed and after-school programs for youth and trying to bring economic development to neighborhoods that had fallen on hard times. Not that different from what happened here in Johnstown. And it was the best education I ever had because it taught me that ordinary people, when they get together across divisions and they decide we're going to work arm in arm, they can bring about real change. That's how change happens in America. And I think the American people are a decent people and a generous people. We're willing to work hard and sacrifice for future generations. And if we can just come together, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, young, old, if we can all join together to challenge those special interests, and also to challenge ourselves to be better, better neighbors, better parents, better citizens. And there's no problem we can't solve, there's no destiny we can't make better. That's my belief. That was the bet I was making 15 months ago when I announced. And I'm here to report after 46 months, or 46 states and 15 months, and hundreds of thousands of people I've talked to, and tens of thousands of hands I've shaken, and hundreds of babies I've kissed, hundreds of chicken dinners I've eaten. I am here to report that my bet has paid off because we are seeing record turnout all across America. People are standing up. They are saying, we want something new. We want to turn the page. We want to write a new chapter in American history. And we're going to bring that message to Pennsylvania on April 22nd. Mention a few areas, because people sometimes ask me to say, well, you're always talking about change. What change are you talking about? Let me just be very specific about some changes that I want to make. I don't want to keep talking about 47 million people without health insurance. I want to do something about it. So we're going to set up a plan. We're going to put forward a plan. If you've got health insurance, we're going to lower your premiums by $2,500 per family per month. If you don't have health insurance, now we're going to set up a plan where you can buy health insurance that is similar to the health insurance Bob Casey and I have as members of Congress. If you can't afford it, then we will subsidize you so that you can afford it. We're going to emphasize prevention so that we've got a health care system instead of a disease care system. Years from now to do it, or 10 years from now to do it. We're going to do it by the end of my first term as President of the United States of America. I want to make our economy fair. 2 days ago I spoke in New York and I was very specific. We need more financial oversight. I don't understand how it is that when ordinary folks get into trouble, nobody's there to bail them out. When the banks get into trouble, suddenly everybody moves in and helps. My attitude is if we're going to help the banks when they get into trouble because of bad loans that they've made, then they should have some responsibilities to report to the taxpayer, report to the Federal Reserve, report to the government what they're doing. They shouldn't be able to take some of the excessive risks that they can take. We should crack down on predatory lending. We should have some oversight in our financial system. Well, we've got to do more than that. I want to take away tax breaks from companies that ship jobs overseas. I want to give those tax breaks to companies that are investing right here in the United States of America, right here in Johnstown, right here in Pennsylvania. agreements that are fair. I don't want some company moving to China and they can use forced labor or child labor, no environmental standards. We don't want U.S. workers undermined in that way. We can compete with anybody, but it should be on a level playing field, and we should have a president who is fighting and is a better negotiator on the level playing field. Not allergic to the word union. I understand not everybody wants to join a union, although it's a good idea. But if you do want to join a union, you shouldn't have companies busting you up, making it hard for you to organize, threatening to fire you. Because workers have been put in a weaker position. That's part of the reason the wages and incomes have flatlined. I want to have a tax code that's fair for everybody. You know, we don't need tax breaks for the wealthiest Americans. We need tax cuts for middle-class Americans like the people in the market. So I'd like to propose that if an individual makes $75,000 a year or less, they should get an offset on their payroll tax. Save families about $1,000 per family to offset some of the rising costs and gasoline and other areas. Senior citizens, if you make less than $50,000 in income, you shouldn't have to pay income tax on your Social Security because you're only dealing with $50,000. I want to invest in infrastructure in this country. If we can spend $10 billion a month rebuilding Baghdad, then we can spend billions of dollars. That makes sense. We're sending $1 billion to other nations because of our addiction to oil. We've got record gas prices. So we've got to go after some of these windfall profits, reinvest some of that refinery capacity to, in the short term, start trying to bring down oil prices. Long term, we've got to be more efficient. We've got to get cars that are more fuel efficient. And, you know, when I say this, I don't just say it in front of environmental groups. I went to Detroit in front of the automakers. I said, Japanese car makers are running circles around you. We will work with you. We will invest in research and development because we want those jobs here in the United States. But we can't keep on getting 8, 9, 10 miles a gallon. Not if we want to bring gas prices down. I have to say the room was really quiet. Nobody clapped. But that's okay, because part of what you need from the next president is somebody who will not just tell you what they think you want to hear, but will tell you what you need to hear, will tell you the truth. If we have a good energy plan, that will put people back to work right here in Pennsylvania. I went to an old steel plant that's been converted into making windmills. Same steel workers now making windmills that used to make steel. We can do that same thing with solar panels and biodiesel and all.
I think today we're going to have